Hello, hello. This is Kim Addis, and I am the president and founder of Frame of Mind Coaching. I'm so delighted for you to join us today. I'm having a great conversation with a gentleman named Steve Sapato. So today I meet Steve for the first time, and you and I will get to know him in this conversation. We're going to be providing him with a coaching conversation. Steve, welcome.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here. Can't
So,
wait to see what we have to say, right?
so Steve, you live in Florida
I do, Tampa, Florida.
and you are a professional public speaker.
I am.
And if I understand correctly, your mission in life is to help other professional speakers get on stage more.
That's right. I've been a professional speaker for over 40 years. And, at some points in time, you get tired of traveling a lot. And a couple years ago, I decided I wanted to spend more time helping other speakers. Now, I've also taught college. So I taught speaking in college and how to get people past their fear of speaking, that type of thing. But this was more designed so we're the alternative to a TEDx. We're called Speaker Talks. And it's designed to help those speakers who really want more to get a sizzle reel, professionally recorded thing. And that way, we also help them get on more stages so they can make more money. I mean, that's what it's all about: is you helping me helping them, right?
So tell me a little bit about what's happening now. Like COVID hit, the game has changed. So, like, what is your current real challenge? What are you facing?
Well, what I'd switched to before was the Speaker Talks event, and what that was is you bring in an audience of 50 to 70 people. You put 15 people on a stage who are going to be speaking, so they can talk to a live audience, an in-person audience, so they can get the reactions, so they can what we call a sizzle reel. So if you're a speaker, you need a sizzle reel to send to these companies because they're not going to pay you $5,000 or $10,000 for a speaking opportunity if you don't have anything to show that you're good at what you do. So we started off a couple years ago doing that, and of course, COVID hit, and we were forced to postpone our March event. Moved it to June, thinking, well, this will probably be over by then. I mean, how bad is the flu? But obviously, we've learned that is a lot more more entailed than that.
Yeah.
But so the challenge is now that we're going to be looking at doing an event in March, and we're hoping that most of that COVID stuff
So
will be behind us.
you've moved this June event to March.
Well, we had a June event, and of
Okay, and
course the
how did it
problem.
go?
Well, I mean, everybody was terrified.
Yeah.
So what went from 70 people in an audience to 27 people in an audience, and I went from 15 speakers to 9 speakers because some of the speakers just said, I don't feel comfortable flying in."
Yeah.
So the challenge, of course, comes is how do you get people to an event? First of all, you got to have you got to have an audience for these people to speak to. Otherwise, they're just talking. And so, how do you get people to come to watch these speakers? And then, um, how do people feel comfortable going out and speaking when there's so much terror and so much fear out there? So, that was our challenge. So, I managed to do that a little bit in the last event. So, in June, we had our event, struggled with it, of course, because
Mhm.
everybody still had to be 6 feet apart. So, the audience
Mhm.
wasn't even, a close audience. It was everybody wide apart and no relationship, and that's what you really need to be seen. And so that's our challenge for we're going to be doing the next one in March. Then we were going to be doing it in January, February, but we still look like we're going to be
Okay,
out there.
so you what you're saying is my challenge is how do I fill the room in March? How do I get the speakers and how do I get the people? I would
That's right.
suggest to you that you have a different challenge.
Okay.
Okay, and really your challenge is to reconfigure your business. How do I reconfigure my business to address the needs of speakers today? So when you say speakers don't want to go out and travel, I get it. I'm a speaker. I'm not going anywhere. I'm certainly not coming to the States. I'm in Canada, right? For a million reasons.
Yeah.
Like I'm
Yeah.
just not going. And exactly. And I don't want to be in a crowd. And I don't want people who come to see me to be in a crowd either. Like for me, I just don't want to create that environment. I don't want to be the reason that people come and gather together. It just doesn't feel right to me. Not cool. Having said that, I do a ton of speaking from home. And what I'm doing currently is all virtual. So anywhere from a 30-minute presentation that's pre-recorded to a 3-hour in-person, live, facilitated workshop. I'm doing all of it. When I
Which
first
we are also doing, so I mean,
Yes.
I teach my speakers online. So like if you were from well, like if you're from Canada and you said, "Steve, I want to be a better speaker." I can teach you how to be a better speaker using video, audio, all that good stuff. But
Well,
that
I
Go ahead.
don't doubt that you have the ability. I just think your format isn't serving today's needs.
Well, I'll say yes and no because I'm still a believer. First of all, you and I obviously differ widely on the corona stuff because I'm like, I have people all the time on my Facebook who say, well, wait until you go out and you face death. I go, I never wear a mask. If I have to go someplace to wear a mask, I will, but I don't believe in it. I'm going to get COVID. I'm going to get over COVID like 99.3% of the people do. So what? But I'm saying next year, when we're really past this, and that's what I'm gearing towards, is next year there's going to be live performances for people like you and I, and people will need to see these people performing live. So I can teach you how to. Matter of fact, I have a certification for people to be virtual presenters. Okay, and I teach them how to be good online. But there's also going to be that need, and I'm not asking for thousands of speakers, but I'm looking for the speakers who next year know that they're going to have to get in front of 200 to 500 people in a live audience next year, a year from now, and that's who the audience is still geared to. Because everybody told me in March when that was postponed, why don't you just cancel it? Why don't you just throw it away? I went. I got 9 people. When I narrowed it down, it was 14 at the time, but I said I got 9 people who definitely want their video showcasing them, and I'm doing it for them. And that was the people who showed up.
Mhm.
So anyway, go ahead.
So what I'm suggesting
Hmm.
is that you don't necessarily throw out your model, but I
Hmm.
think that there's an opportunity that maybe can be leveraged. And really what I'm suggesting is that you said something very interesting, and I want to really hone in on that. And you said, I don't believe that we should be wearing, well, you don't want to wear a mask. And I'm not here to discuss the mask issue, but I am here to discuss how our beliefs influence our behaviors. Okay, so that's what I'm here to discuss. So your belief is there's still going to be a market for live presentations. You might be right. And there is absolutely currently 100% a market for virtual presentations right here, right now. Do you agree with me? Is that a belief that you
Yes,
can take on? And so the
absolutely.
question becomes for me, how do we leverage current status, right? How do we leverage what's happening right here if we both believe and agree that there's a market here? And quite frankly, I think you can fill it. I think you have the expertise, the background, the knowledge, the ability to really serve this market. So, as I think to myself, I would love a virtual sizzle reel because I don't think that everybody is at the same level in delivering virtual presentations. I've attended so many of
Oh
them.
yeah, boring.
And
I say, matter of fact, my speech back there is stop boring speakers, which is what you and I
exactly,
talk about. Yeah.
exactly. So, how do we help the virtual speaking population where there's no debate about mask or no mask? There is
Hmm.
a need, it's a black and white need, right? It's evident. How do we create sizzle reels for virtual presenters? And how do we distinguish between an amazing virtual presenter and a not amazing presenter? Because for me personally, I'm doing presentations, I'm making them as interactive as I humanly can. If I can pick up a few tools and tips, I'm happy to. But also when I go and pitch myself as a speaker to for events or different organizations, I want to be differentiated. Can you help me?
I like
So
that.
if from my perspective, if you're not understanding that need, you're missing an opportunity.
That's a real good point. That's a very good point because while I think I said I offer virtual training, it wasn't a focus. It was more like, I offer that. So you're saying if I make that more of my focus for the next 6 or 8 months, that I'll be able to change my business.
Yes, and it's not to say throw everything else out because in a year, 18 months, wonderful, you can come back. But right now, there's an urgent need for exactly what you have the ability and the training and the expertise to deliver. And
That's good.
so for me, it's the difference between pushing this massive boulder uphill against the tide of what's happening in the world, because your beliefs are different from a lot of other people's beliefs,
80% of the people.
right? Or it's to say, okay, here's the situation right now. How do I leverage this opportunity? How do I turn it into an advantage? How do I serve the needs of people right now? And I would tell you with absolute certainty, boredom in presentations is an issue.
Great. I like that information. Obviously, I'm taking a lot of notes. So if anybody else is listening to this, taking the notes on what we're learning, taking notes on what we do is really part, because when I get done with this, I'll forget three quarters of it because that's what we all do. And if I've got it written down, I can refer back and get that information back from Kim. So yeah, I can still watch my presentation, which I hope to do. But while I'm just sitting here, it's really good to say, wait, what did we talk about here? And that's a really good point. And um, so I thank Kim for making sure that I'm not entrenched in my belief. She asked me the right questions to make sure I wasn't. This is what I'm going to do, because she and I know that that's where we find some people, right? I'm not going to change because this is who I am. But even at my age, being able to change, make that change is really vital to our success. And that's a really good point. I really like that you popped me out of, and that's what you did. You popped me out of, I have to do this to, oh, wait, I can do this.
Yes, and I want to just ask you, I guess, a practical question,
Mhm.
two practical questions, because I think a lot of people who are listening are also exposed to a lot of boring speakers. Like, what can we do to not be boring?
Well, first thing is have a good time. One of the things, matter of fact, I love, I've got a saying that is, when I talk to people, people say, well, I've got boring material. I go, nope, your material is dry, you're boring.
Okay.
And there's a big difference, because I was a real estate appraiser for 20 years. I mean, I've had tons of different jobs because I get bored easily, so I move on. So I've always got two or three jobs going at a time. But I would sit in these horribly boring continuing education courses where, as a presenter, I would watch the guys up there just talking about the material, and they could have included materials in stories. They could have got us involved that way. And so, one of the things that will really help people stop being boring, and I I've got a signature course called Storytizing, and the reason I don't call it storytelling is because there are a ton of people out there who say, I will help you be a great storyteller. And I say storytelling is for kindergarten, right? And that's what it is, because they'll teach you how to do a different inflection, or a lot of, I just read one, I just stuck it in one of my speaker files, that they say, and when you tell your story, then you have to say how that impacts the audience, and then you tell more of your story. And the one thing I tell everybody that I work with is take the I, the me, and the my out of your story and make it about them. So I could tell you, I went to the grocery store today. I got in my car. I drove to the grocery store. I get out of the parking lot and I see all the people wearing masks. I don't want to wear a mask, so I have to evaluate. Now, you're already bored. You don't care what Steve wants. So if, on the other hand, I
I want
said,
to kind of hear how that turns out.
kinda. But if I said, on the other hand, "Hey, you ever been to the grocery store? Have you gone recently?" And you're automatically involved. "Yep, I was here." And when you drove there, did you see people with masks on in their car? Maybe you did, and what did you think when you saw them? But see, now I've got you thinking of the story. And when you pulled up in the parking lot, were there other people wearing their mask? Have you decided to wear a mask or not wear a mask? And all it is now I'm making the story about you, and it's a different story, same story, but now it's about you. So I say you have to use their memories and emotions, and that's the difference between
Interesting.
a very successful person leading a meeting and somebody leading a boring meeting. So
That's very good input. So this is the kind of thing we can apply to any type of presentation, a virtual presentation, a live presentation. And to me, I think it's even more needed because more people are presenting online, people who aren't even traditional speakers, right?
absolutely right.
So when we look at the speaking world, they're more polished, more prepped, more practiced, more experienced. But now, when we look at the virtual world, so many more people are being placed in the role of presenter. And so, to me, the need for your type of services is at a much, much higher level. So, to me, the question is, what kind of training can we offer? What kind of sizzle reel can we put together that is virtually based, that you can literally capture from your home? You don't even have to travel. And how can you serve a market like me? I'm the market, right? Who desperately wants to be doing a lot more virtual presentations, and is looking for a way to differentiate between myself and other amazing speakers. How do I do that?
How do you differentiate yourself? Is that what your question
Yeah,
was?
I'm saying, how do
Yeah.
we use that sizzle reel to make that big difference?
I think if what you're doing is you're sending out this reel to other people who are looking to see if I could be, let's say, I'm going to leave it on me, that if I could be one of their presenters, what I want to send out in that sizzle reel are clips, and they would be clips of like this, of us either telling the story or laughing and having a good time or getting some dry material out by using the right verbiage. And
Right.
those, when we talk about those, if you've included that in your sizzle reel, you certainly talk about that when you submit that. You say, this could have been boring material,
Yes.
but it's not.
Right. But what I'm suggesting to you is
Hmm.
that you're in a perfect position
Oh,
to create sizzle reels that are virtual.
yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. You put
Steve,
that here.
Steve, where do people find you if they want to learn more about your services?
Well, first of all, I always tell them to contact me directly, steve@stevesapato.com, steve@stevesapato.com, or you can go to stevesapatoseminars.com. And if you just want to look up and see what I've done, type in Steve Sapato on Google. You'll probably find 400,000 pages because I'm old. So I've been on there since the beginning. So you'll find all kinds of information about me. I know you're going to trust yourself as to whether you should talk to me. And I always encourage people to talk because just because you want to learn from somebody doesn't mean it should be me, right? We might connect, like Kim and I connect pretty well right here. We could probably work together, create other things. But sometimes we just don't click, right? We don't have the same connection. So always investigate, always interview before you hire somebody.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Steve, for being on this podcast with me, for sharing the challenge, and for allowing me to kind of tweak maybe some of your thinking. For those of you who are listening, if you have a challenge and you would like a little bit of coaching, please reach out to me. My name is Kim Addis, as you know, and my email address is kim@frameofmindcoaching.com. If you're thinking that you have a challenge, but you're not so comfortable being on a podcast, reach out to me anyway. Kim@frameofmindcoaching.com, and we can talk, and maybe coaching is the right way for you to go. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Steve. And until we see you again.
Thank you very much.